Hey everybody, it's Brad here. Can you see me on the Kickstarter page and everything? Um, cool. Good, good. Well, I am here to talk about the lore of the world of Indians. Hey, so, um, anyway, I hope that you guys will continue to post questions even as we talk during this next hour. And if there's anything that you want to say or that you want to ask me about directly, I'm going to be in the chat. I'm also not just going to talk about lore. I will be talking about also the upcoming games in the World of Indies line. So if you want to know about any of the other plans that we have coming up, then I'll be able to tell you about those as well. So anyway, let me know. Send me some questions. Post some chats. And first off, I want to say thank you guys for backing the project. Unleashed has been a big success already, and we couldn't have done it so far without you. I think that Ryax is certainly within our reach, and maybe even the character beyond. So I don't, it's not over till the fat lady sings. We'll see where we get with Unleashed. So anyway, without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and move along to some of these questions. I'm a little sleepy today, so you have to bear with me. You have to wake me up with some good chats if you can. So anyway, let me open this up and we'll see. So Luke asks, will we ever see the full stretch goal list for this project? I mentioned early on in the project that I had stretch goals going all the way up to $2 million in this project. I can tell you a bit about some of the stretch goals that are like way out there now. So first of all, there were enough fighters planned in this project to get the entire box filled up to 110 fighters. So enough fighters to fill out the entire box. That said, those fighters are already in the works, and if you check out the public module which Daniel released yesterday, you'll actually be able to see a lot of these future fighters. So those are available now to you. So if you want to see and speculate maybe on what order they were going to come out or what kind of abilities they have, you can actually go and download the mod and do some playtesting and see what you think. Now, I mentioned in a couple of the other sections of the comments and stuff that that the characters we don't unlock in this project are not going to disappear into the aether, because this is the last BattleCon Kickstarter. Obviously, like characters like, for example, in Trials, we didn't reach Ray and Andrus, so they came back here. In this project, obviously, there's nowhere for characters to go. We don't reach them. So our plan is to print those and release them as individual characters. So the stretch goal is really about how many characters is it in the budget for us to give away to you guys for free. Hope that covers things. Can chats be caffeinated? If somebody brings me a coffee, I'll be caffeinated. I don't think that's gonna happen during the stream though. Let's see. So other stretch goals that we had planned. We actually had enough stretch goals, if things got really crazy, to build us a new dungeon book with 6 different dungeons and a new boss mode expansion with 6 new bosses. Whether those things will come out on their own, I don't know. We'll have to see how BattleCon does in its life after Unleashed. But I hope that we can do some of those projects. And it may be that things we don't do here still appear in BattleCon Online at some point. So anyway, not to say that it can't happen. It might. Let's see here. What's another? Hey, Luke asked, who is Oryax 2? So this is the character that is going to be unlocked when we reach 400,000 on this campaign. So Oryax 2 is a, how should we say, he is Virian, one of the angel characters, much like Rey or Mikhail. He was an extremely powerful and important one. But he went up against the Celestials, the like godlike entities that run the celestial plane, and they did not like that. They tore off his wings and threw him down to Indians, exiled from his home plane, and so now he remains. He was a master, like beyond master of divinity magic, one of the best ever, and joined Division 13, where he got new wings made of energy, and where he puts his skills to use, his divine magic skills to use, serving Division 13 and his own interests. So he's kind of like if you crossed I guess I'd say like mad priest and a mad scientist together. That's kind of what you get with Oryax 2. So it's a really cool character that the kind of character you don't really often see in fiction. So I'm really excited to bring him to life. He's going to be a cool character to have. Let's see. So Jess asks, will there be new art and old art in the art and lore book? Yes, there will be new art. There will be old art as well. So we're bringing back some of the important character art that we have, but we're not going to put every piece of art that exists for the series. There's just not going to be enough space in the book for that. So we'll be putting the most important arts for each character. We are also commissioning a series of like CGI style pieces to go in the front of the book along with the stories. So the stories will have some CGI style graphics that walk you through the stories of Devastation, and hopefully we'll be able to do ones for Fate and for Trials and Wanderers and War as well. So we can take you through the whole story of BattleCon in illustrated fashion. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So let's see. All right. Peter, could you go over Zal Ezra's lore and maybe his true origins? Will Zal Ezra ever be an official printed character, or will he always be a print and play character? So Zal Ezra is a character from Argent, the consortium. He's the lead character for the Department of Planar Studies. He is not really real. I think that's the most defining thing about his character, is that he is a character that doesn't exist. And so one day he shows up at the university and nobody knows who he is or what he is or why he's there, but he's apparently a professor. He's got a bunch of degrees and a bunch of papers published with the rest of the professors at Argent. He's got all of the trappings and all of the environmental cues that say he's a real person that exists. And so the university just accepts that they must have somehow made a mistake. And due to some magical malady, he has become he's become unremembered by everybody. But the truth is that he never existed at all, and he's connected to the Dark Masters, who are these beings outside of reality, who control, who are basically the essence of lost magic. So how he comes to be, he appears during the Planar Studies accident that destroys the department. If there's a character in Argent named Batrov Wargrave, who appears as like a golem of numbers. He actually managed to save everybody, but lost his body in that experiment. That's why he shows up so strange. And it was shortly after that experiment that Zal Ezra appeared and joined the department. So that's the origin of Zal Ezra. Will he ever be an official character? The answer is yes. He was in the stretch goal list. So we are planning to print him. He was a secret boss for Fate, and like the other secret bosses, Anath and Evil Hikaru, he'll eventually get a printed kit that is going to be tournament legal. So yes, so Zal Ezra is coming to your box eventually. And since even if we don't hit the stretch goal, like I said, we will print these characters, so you will be able to get them and play with them in time. Okay, so Luke asked, will we see future boss and dungeon content? I hope so. It'll depend a little bit. We are planning, though, for BattleCon Online. If that continues to be successful, we are planning for BattleCon Online to have dungeon content. And it's going to be a little different than the dungeons that you have in the physical game. But I think it'll be even cooler because you can do things like create new cards on the fly or have unique upgrade cards for each of the different characters in the game. So we got some cool plans for dungeon content. Yeah. So let's go on. I want to know, will Marco get an Indian's character in his likeness? I mean, Philippines practically is Indians. The odds of Jin and Rariti being tournament legal would be nice for all. So Sean, first I want to say thank you so much for answering all these questions in the comments. It's been great. The other thing I want to say is yes, will Marco get a character? I think we feel like Eric is already Marco's character. I'm not sure if that's true or not. It also may be that any character that goes in Marco's likeness will just be Robert the Saint, one of the really old promos again. So we'll see. But we don't have plans to print a Marco inspired character beyond Eric right now. Jin and Rariti are tournament legal. Most people probably won't want to play Rariti in tournament because she does have a random element. But Jin is also tournament legal. I don't think that these two characters are necessarily on the power curve. They're certainly not top tier characters, but they're meant to be tournament legal. Yeah. Let's see. Gorfus says, "Hey Gorfus, is petrification by a dragon permanent, or might there still be some way to reverse it? Powerful magic, kill a dragon, etc. Along the same lines, what happens to the souls of people who get petrified?" So this is a good lead-in question for I guess I should say there is one actual instance in the Devastation story where somebody just gets killed by Ajena's dragon gaze. That's Lane, Runika's assistant. When they first meet Ajena, Ajena looks and turns Lane to glass, killing her instantly. Where does her soul go? It actually gets trapped in a necklace that she was wearing. But normally your soul would just go to the afterworld like anyone else's when they die. It's an instant death spell. Anyway, let me say. So Lane's soul gets trapped, and eventually Runika uses that soul to build Arya, her own golem. So so Arya has actually got the soul of Runika's late assistant Lane. Let's see. Why doesn't Minyard Milquetoast get any respect? This is a character that appeared in 7-card Slugfest and then Pix Tactics 3. He just didn't have the charisma that Wardlaw had, because Wardlaw has become a very popular character and Minyard kind of has been forgotten by everyone. I don't know. Maybe you could start a petition or something. But no plans for Minyard in current projects. He might show up in a future project, though. All right. Sean says, what are these emblems in the generic tokens from Devastation? I figured out the others already. These last two, those emblems are the national emblems for the different flags of Indians. The last two are the Underlands and the Kaon Empire, Oriana. What exactly is a soul in Indians? Why do only humans have them? That's kind of deep lore stuff. But the real answer is that the Indians is a material world, and so most creatures that are native to the world don't have souls. Their bodies and minds are all one. Whereas creatures that come from the other planes, like, for example, like Plane of Shadow or Celestial Plane or the Doppelgangers, when you kill them, it banishes them back to their own world. Humans, when you kill them, get banished to the afterworld, the Well of Souls. So you can take that and figure out what you really think about it all. I gotta clear out some of these old questions. All right. So I've written, hey, Ethan, and let's see, Ethan, I think you've also answered a bunch of questions. So I want to say thanks for answering questions in the comments. That you guys that have been really active out there. Oh yeah, so BCO exclusive, 7 Rifflin BCO exclusive, and a chance of distant future they'd be available in PaperCon. Although adapting Rifflin to paper does seem like PETA, I don't know if it seems like it's pretty tough, yeah. Similarly, would Unleash promos like Takeshi, Klaus and Windhall, and Lucius be available at BCO in the distant future? Even at Tix Wedding, but with that, we have complete rosters. Many thanks and look forward to the future content. Well, so we want to have BattleCon Online exclusives, and it's not just because a character is not fit for another medium. Like Rifflin would be impossible to bring to tabletop without trouble. 7, obviously, you could bring to tabletop without too much trouble, but we want to give you some incentives to play BattleCon Online. So there will be more characters in the future that are BattleCon Online, especially since we said that BattleCon Online is kind of the future of BattleCon that we envision. So we plan to continue doing new characters in online. They'll be like 1 or 2 a season, so it's not going to be like really huge, but it is the way that we plan to introduce new characters in the future. And I'd say in the future being like 3 or 4 years down the road, because with, like I said, publishing the stretch goals that we didn't hit in Unleashed, we will still be coming out with new BattleCon content well into 2020. So I'm not too worried about that. Let's see. Iago asks, how many other base sets are planned? Those became my favorites quickly. I think we actually hit just about all of them. There were 2, maybe 3 more. Those were bases that were, so we got the Spellcaster. There was going to be a Swordmaster and a Gunslinger base set, I believe. And then there is I think there was one that was going to be done by Ian Olympia in the style of the 7th Cross Exceed bases. So, or normals, I should say. Let's see. What are the odds of a Fate Trials Wanderers Extended Edition? At this point, I'd say it's probably pretty slim. We ended up giving that role to the Unleashed box. So Unleashed has sort of become the extended edition for this campaign, because it's got those extended editions have historically had all of the stretch goal content from the campaign that spawned the box. In this case, Unleashed has all the stretch goal content from those projects. And since none of that content is new tournament legal stuff, we're not really compelled to make sure that it's permanently available in stores everywhere. So I don't think that there will be a Fate Trials Wanderers Extended. There's currently not any plans for it. Let's see. With Devastation, so Arbco, hey Julia, is our resident lore master, asks, with Devastation, you've talked about parts 1 and 2, but one thing that hasn't been covered much, the battle between Orion's Can Empire and the Planestalkers. Can you talk about where that fits into the plot? So it's actually kind of something that we've set up, but that hasn't been fully realized in the timeline yet. We are planning a future game where those battles, the battle for the plains, comes to a bigger forefront. So you can look out for more about that in the future. Currently, we're kind of in the skirmish and espionage phase of that battle in Devastation. So it will soon, but I haven't written the plot to pull that in yet. It's all very kind of wibbly wobbly at the moment. Yeah, the cadentialing bases are best. Jess, yeah, I know. They're pretty cool. I thought that was really neat that you guys actually did that petition. That's key. Let's see. Will the lore book have a timeline for the events in each game? Yes. Yes, the lore book will have a timeline. That'll be right in the front, and it'll tell you, like the plot, and then the picture, plot, CGs, and, where it fits onto the, chart of the world time for Indians. So let's see. So can we get some more info on Nabatina and Camber Rao? Yeah, sure. So Nabatina is a character you don't see too much. She is the seventh princess of the Afterworld, the one that appears as a final boss in the Well of Souls dungeon in the original Devastation, and in Devastation Remastered. She has the Crown of Malefes. So Nabatina was a dragon, actually Ajena's sister. And in the Dragon Wars, so Nabatina was supposed to be Greyheart's first wife, was the original Dragon Queen. Ajena deposed her and stole the throne, and became the new Dragon Queen. Nabatina got angry, wanted revenge. She turned to the demons and decided she was going to join up with them. Got a hold of the Crown of Malefes, became the judge of all the dead, and now rules over basically the underworld in this world. She does not survive the plot of Devastation, unfortunately. So she probably won't appear in future products. But in the plot for Devastation that comes up in the art book, I'll tell you a bit more about her ultimate fate. Now, Camber Rao is a character who was one of the Alexian, was actually the brother of Alexian the First. He fell in love with the Dragon Queen, or not with the Dragon Queen, with Nabatina, and Nabatina lured him to the Afterworld, made him her servant forever, where he still remains doing her bidding in the world. So the alternate Camber Rao skin that you can get for Alexian is actually a real historical character in the lore. So yeah, there you go. Let's see. Luke asks, what's the deal with Neuromill K? Right, so a lot of fantasy RPG settings have slimes, right? And in Indians, we have slimes too. What are slimes? Well, there's actually some lore associated with them. A long, long time ago, in the Underlands, they had these machines called neuromills, and they are designed to store information in liquid. They look kind of like a ring. They have like fancy artifact writing, magic incantations all over them. And whenever they come into contact with water, they metabolize all the water and turn into effectively a psychic computer. They can move the water around a little bit because moving the water through the ring is how they think. So they're constantly churning around whatever liquid or gel that you give them. So in the Underlands, these are computers. Basically, they're used to do calculations, to store big libraries of data, et cetera, et cetera. Then there was this whole Dragon War. They shut off the Underlands from the world above, and the technology was lost. All of the neuromills that were in the surface world a lot of them were broken in the war. So when these things break, they don't, some of the enchantments still work, but not completely. They still metabolize water. And so when one of these broken pieces of this device will, come into contact with liquid, it sucks it all up and then starts searching for more going around. And so that's where slimes come from. They're actually broken computers from an age of technology long, long ago. So anyway, we fast forward to the modern era, and we get to Argent University days. Ricky Kanheim from Argent decides that she has the skills to repair one of these things. But she's only ever seen a slime. So she says, oh, well, if I repair one, I could weaponize slimes. And so she builds one of these things not to be a computer, but to be a combat weapon, and gives it to the planestalkers. So it turns out that once it's finished, it also becomes a very a high-powered thinking machine. But she actually intended it to use its slime powers to be more of a combat machine. So unlike the computers, which became monsters, Neuromail K was built as a monster that also happened to be a computer when it was finished. So that's the background for this character. You can also see you can also see Neuromail K in Pix Tactics 5. The name is spelled a bit differently, but it's the same character that shows up as the Brainiac for the Planestalkers. Let's see. What's next? Thiago says, will we ever see the return of the arenas? Not in BattleCon paper, I don't think. That said, we're hoping to do kind of a tavern brawl type mode for BattleCon Online, and that will probably be the spiritual successor to arenas. So yes, maybe soon online. We'll see. Can you go over Eliza lore? Yeah, sure. This is easy. Like the other characters from the social stretch goals, Eliza was a promo. First, she's actually a classical mascot for Level 99 games, and she was introduced as part of the characters for Mystic Empyrean. She doesn't really appear in the game Mystic Empyrean. She's intended to be like a storyteller type of character. So she's kind of the character that is telling the story of Mystic Empyrean, which is our first RPG. I know you guys are probably asking, well, whatever happened to Mystic Empyrean? We are planning a revamp of Mystic Empyrean next year. So you will be able to get a new edition of the book, a new edition of the cards with updated graphic design, updated wording, real combat system. A lot of things in the book have been revised and improved. So Mystic Empyrean is one of the projects we're planning to bring back next year. Mystic Empyrean is also tangentially connected to Indians, and if you listen to some of the voice lines that Eerie has in BattleCon Online, once Eerie comes out, you'll see some tangential connections to Mystic Empyrean. So some food for thought there. So Easter eggs for you there. But as far as lore, the characters like Lucius, Takeshi, Jin, Rarity, Eliza don't really have lore. They are meant to be guest characters and to be understood in that sense, as much as Darth Vader showing up in Soul Calibur. Although they do work really hard to come up with goofy stories for the guest characters of Soul Calibur, so maybe I should too. Let's see. All right. So people are asking, can we get a rundown of Dolores before and after becoming one of the Malifaux sisters? Dolores is one of the characters that I haven't come up with as much lore for as the others. We know that she was from the Plane of Shadows. She's actually a Rasp like Hekech or Jasper or I think those are the only two that we've seen so far. Oh, and Illumis. So she was someone probably more like Illumis when she came to Indians, but got her hands on one of these relics and ended up getting a real body and a real spirit for herself. And you can kind of see from her mask that she wears that body is not really her. It's kind of a puppet she's operating, a lot like Illumis. So anyway, So Dolores is kind of the, I guess you'd say like the minion master of the sisters. She is the one in charge of creating these torments, which are invisible monsters that go around and cause all of the bad stuff in the world. So, in classical times, there was this belief that like if you get sick, you've got an evil spirit attacking you. That's actually true in Indians. The torments are actual evil spirits that go around and attack people and give them all kinds of maladies and ailments to make their lives worse, so that when they so they'll be more burdened when they end up in the afterworld. She's also kind of the one in charge of getting everybody to the afterworld at the end, and so the torments help with that too. Additionally, that's why she built the rail line, and that's all in her lore for Imperial spells and steam. So that's the basics for Dolores. We're actually going to see another cool Dolores-related character named Drexel pretty soon. He's the alternate captain for the Imperial and for the Afterworld Express, and he is also kind of one of these monsters that she's created. She has all kinds of crazy monsters down there, but we'll probably see more of them in the future, I think. Let's see. Oh yeah, it's Jasper, not Gaspar. Sorry about that. Oh, can you guys not see me? I'm still here. Can everybody see me okay? Or can everyone hear me okay? I think that's the important thing. Let's see. Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. Let's see. Nostros Callahan is not named after anyone in particular or anything in particular. It just seemed like a cool name. Sorry. No connection. Is BCO where the planned visual novel from the Warrior Master Kickstarter is going to be? No, I really do plan to do a separate game for the World of Indians visual novel. And it's really just kind of like Cameron's got BattleCon Online, Pixel Tactics Online to do. After Pixel Tactics Online, we have some other projects lined up. And one of those that we want to focus on is the World of Indians VN. And I guess I would say it's not really a true VN because it's not like a choice-based game as much as it's a game with a story that you play through. And that story also has a full battle system, a full card-based battle system that you play through. So more on that when it happens, but it is something that's still on our radar that we're still planning to do, that we still really want to do. And I do want to, as we go forward with more video games, focus on creating more of these, what would we say, like standalone experiential games, like games that you play through and you beat and you're done with, but they're more in the classic style, not the kind of lifestyle game that you have to keep up with all the time, like BattleCon Online. So we're going to try and structure future releases more in the traditional game way. Let's see. Thiago asked, do we have other skins that have their own stories and dialogues like him on BCO? Yes. For example, Carolyn is coming out in another like 2 months of BCO. You can actually play as August, her sister, who was defeated in the in her backstory. August was killed, but now you can relive and play as August in BattleCon Online. And of course, she has crazy dialogue as well. That's completely different than Karen's own dialogue. So are the various nations competing to unearth more golems like Ustad? What is the basic background of Ustad and the civilization that created him? So Ustad is a dragon slayer golem. He was made during the Dragon Wars to fight against the dragons, to give humans the tools to fight against the dragons. So he's actually pretty huge. He can go toe to toe with like Larimore Berman when he's transformed. Obviously, like the god dragon Greyheart is much bigger even than an Udstad-sized golem. But so Udstad was made a long time ago for that. So he was rebuilt in the modern era by Runica, and it's not really a small feat to build one of these. Like you have to be really, really good at what you're doing to build a golem and to power one. They were originally powered by shards of the body of the dead god Macteryx, the machine god. He was killed. They took his remains and used him to build all of the golems. So, like Inderbit, for example, has part of this core or part of this entity inside of him. So does Udstad, and pieces of it, for example, the golem core that's inside Arya, also are a part of Macteryx. So it's said by some artificers that once the reliquary manages to unite all of the golem cores ever in the whole world, they'll be able to revive Macteryx and return him to godhood. Who knows if that's ever actually possible? Inderbit really wants to do it, though. He has it as kind of a personal goal. So, but the civilization that created him is the precursor to the current civilization. After the prophet Arlant, who taught the people of Indians about the gods at the start of the Dragon Wars, Arlant also taught them how to make golems. And that's somebody who was connected to Caesar. I think it was asked a little earlier, who is Arlant? Anyway, so aside from all that lore mumbo jumbo from the past, Arlant's gone. The art of creating golems was made a secret and then eventually lost. A couple people remember, like Caesar, who was a golem priest before he was a relic hunter. He's that old, yeah. But for the most part, nobody knows how to make them anymore. And Runica has kind of reinvented this art. Now, are the nations competing to unearth all this ancient technology? To some extent. It's really specific in what it can do and how it works, because golems are sentient creatures. So they're kind of a double-edged sword. And if you're not really, you could do damage if you're not savvy on how to use them. But probably more than that, nations are competing to unearth the technology that was lost to the Underlands, because the Underlands technology really is like information age tech, like the kind we have in our world, computers and mag rails and stuff like that, like all kinds of important information and transportation technologies. So let's see. So have you gone over, Anthony asked, have you gone over Dryad lore yet? Those are some of my favorite characters, so it'd be interesting to see how they came about. And if not mistaken, they're mostly backer characters. There are, let's see, as far as Dryads go, you've got Lixis, Kajia, Korra, and I think those are the main ones that appear as fighters in BattleCon. Two of those are actually backer created characters. So yeah, it turns out that that we have more of those than past. So or more of those were created by fans of the series than by me myself. A lot more of them do appear in Argent, the Consortium. We've got Kavri, we've got Exifern, we've got what's the name, Quan Gun Call, the Mushroom Triad. But anyway, there's a lot of Dryads. These are the spirits of plants, or the souls of plants in Indians. They are created by old trees, usually, to go and see the world for those trees. And so they go out and they experience the world. A lot of them live in secluded groves. There's one in just about every major forest in the world. And the Dryads are responsible for making sure that the balance of nature, with like life and death and, plenty and famine, disease and health are all kind of managed in the world. So they do that. They're connected to one of the three great spirits of the world, the world tree. So all the animals are kind of within the domain of the Dragon King, Greyheart. All of the magical entities and elementals are within the domain of the Great Disaster, Havoc. All of the plants and non-animal creatures in the world are within the domain of the World Tree. So there's kind of these like three great gods or great primordials of Indians, and the Dryads serve one of them. Anyway, so that's the basic lore of the Dryads. When a Dryad's immortal. Whenever she dies, she just pops back out of her tree again after a few days. So you can't really kill them unless you destroy the tree. If you destroy the tree, the Dryad can refuse to die and hold on to her essence. If she does, she becomes a husk, which is a spirit of disease and famine. And so that's kind of what Kajia is, actually. Kajia is actually a husk or a zombie Dryad, and not really a living Dryad. That said, the tree that she comes from is kind of a tree that works like that. It lives even in death through the creatures that it supports. And that's why you see her covered with like insects and stuff, because she is kind of I guess I'd say a spirit of healthy decay, of like, of return to the earth. So that's Kajia, and that's Dryads in general. Are there any other questions about those before I move along? You just throw them in the chat here. You don't have to go all the way down to that. Yeah. So anyway, how do you feel about people in the community making fan games taking place in the Indians universe? I think it's super cool. Indians is not I would say like true shared universe. Like, for example, I guess like what's an example, like Lovecraft, I guess. Like, I hope that you'd ask me before you printed a game. I hope you'd send me a copy of a game that you made in the Indians universe. But I think it's really cool to see people build new stuff. I was really a big proponent of the Outcasts expansion when that happened. I think it's really cool when people build onto the games and the worlds that I've done. So yeah, I'd love to see more fan games take place in the world of Indians. And hopefully with the RPG, when we do the World of Indians RPG, people will have more of a context to build out the world and expand it in their own way. So that's my hope for it. Was Aberrain a stretch goal? So Aberrain was actually not planned as a stretch goal for this campaign. I'm sorry we didn't end up planning her. That said, she may still come out. I don't know. She wasn't on the list for this one. We had a couple more characters that we thought would be a little bit more exciting for players, like Dolores, who was shown off in Imperial and is now available in the game, and like Oriax, who's been talked a lot about and who's appeared in Pixel Tactics. So let's see. And there is, we are planning to put a tuck box template up on the website. So if you want to get those tuck boxes for the rest of the characters in Unleashed or make them yourself, that'll be something that's available. We don't have rights to print anything else with that art for some of those old characters, like the Mage Wars characters, the Bruce Lee, the Red Horizon characters that we did. Those we won't print tuck boxes for, but you could make your own tuck box. Let's see. Where will we ever have more with Boris Vilnar Cadence as boss? He gets kind of background role, but not seeming us to see eventually get the boot via Serafina. So Boris Vilnar is one of the oldest of the Magisters of Lalat. He's a kind of sort of evil genius mastermind, but he never really shows up and sees the light of day. He's always there in the background. So in that case, he's kind of a oh man, I don't want to say he's modeled after Dr. Claw, but he really is modeled after like Dr. Claw from the old Gadget, Inspector Gadget show, where you never see his face. You never really know who he is or why he's doing what he's doing. That said, players will get the ability to play as Boris Vilnar in an upcoming World of Indians game. One of the projects that we are working for is an actual dudes on a map world conquest game where you take on the role of the nations of Indians and work to achieve your own personal objectives and also world objectives through. Right, so each nation also has their own abilities and their own drawback. So, like with Walat, you have your giant health crisis because all the forests were destroyed, all the dryads left. Now you just have these husk terrorists running around the nation, and so you have to manage the health of the populace. At the same time, you have this giant machine army, and you actually have a tech tree that you can build up, where other nations don't have like a tech improvements. So if you can invest enough in tech while keeping your nation from dying off, you can start building gigantic war machines that can destroy the rest of the world and put it under your control. So that's the idea, is that each of the nations will have like two UAs, one that is a drawback, one that is a source of power. That game is still quite a ways off, but it is something that we're actively working on. Let's see. So can you tell us more about the Underlands and its people? Yeah, so the Underlands is basically, I don't know if I would say like it's another world that is on the back of Indians. So the world of Indians is flat, and above and above and above and below and below and below are the plains. But on the back side of the flat world of Indians is the Underlands. They call it Inverness or Everness. I need to get my. It's not Inverness. It's not the place in Scotland. But they are a information age society that was locked off from the surface world a long time ago. The primary race down there is the Underlanders. They have small horns. They're dark-skinned people. They live in. They have their own sky, so they don't actually live in caves. When you go under the world and you step on the other surface, there's another sky with different stars that's looking down at the other planes. So it really is an actual other world. So anyway, the Underlanders are are powerful psionic race. Not so much with like moving objects and stuff, but they have mental magic that allows them to communicate telepathically, to control, to like remember and manipulate lots of information at once. They anyway, those ability sets will be explained in the future, but they are planned. The Underlanders, there's also other races down there. Like there's a lot of mushroom dryads in the caverns. There's also dryads on the surface down there. There's yeah. Anyway, so that's the Underlands. As far as like more about the history of them, they are a very cultural traditionalist type of people. They really value history and archaeology and preservation of art and literature and history. So that's kind of what we know about them right now. We've seen a few of them. If you look at Argent, like Jessica is one. Wraith from Imperial is one. We have one of Gerard's mercenaries is an Underlander. So you start to see a bunch more of them in Imperial in that era. We may eventually see one of them show up in BattleCon. We'll see what happens there. So just ask for the master skins. Are they based on ones in BCO and in Dev Extended? Or are we going to get brand new skins? The master skins that exist in BCO are the ones that will show up in Unleashed. There are obviously a few that are going to be brand new. Those may eventually show up in War, or in paper. What am I saying? No, the ones in paper may eventually show up in BCO. That's what I mean. most of the master skins are canon, except for the master skins of characters who die in the story, because the master skins are meant to be kind of their leveled up or their future advanced, ability set to represent the character's growth. Characters that die obviously don't have any growth, so so we just decided, like, well, what would have happened if they had gone on? So that's so those are the master skins. Let's see. What's the secret behind Indies naming? There's some known naming conventions for dryads and robots, but there aren't any particular themes or sources that I haven't otherwise talked about. Not really. There's one other one, which is the shades are all have color names. So you see like Burgundy 12. There's another shade that shows up in Imperial called Marigold. She's also in Pixel Tactics 5, I believe. We may see more characters like that in the future. Otherwise, as far as naming conventions, you end up with like Relicore are kind of loosely based on Asian names. Jeffries is kind of loosely based on German and English names, and then Gesselheim being more kind of like Slavic. But as far as like actual hard rules, there's not really too many now. A lot of characters have middle names that have never been revealed, but they're in my document. Maybe those will come out someday. We'll see. So now that we have a normal evil Hikaru and evil Hikaru, will we ever get good Hikaru to round out a set of 3? Well, normal Hikaru is good Hikaru. That said, we did plan a BattleCon Online skin that's going to be good evil Hikaru, where he uses the power of good instead of evil. That'll be a lot of fun, so you can look for that. But there's no plans to make a third version of Hikaru that is good. So, let's see. So quickly, template tug boxes. We said earlier we got the template tug boxes going. Those are going to be on our website. Any plans for future expansion? We'll have more characters in development. So we are trying to kind of move away from doing BattleCon as our big project of the year every year. That's so that we can do some of these other projects like Nations. And we have a couple other things planned. I have a sandbox game in the works called Free Companies, where you get to play as mercenary companies. So people like Gerard, who go around the world and adventure for fame and profit, and also work to like influence the nations to make money. So I talked about the nations like dudes on a map game. One of the things, so Free Companies, we are thinking we might do these two games kind of side by side. In Free Companies, you control the mercenary companies, and the nations are kind of in the background. You can actually get a commission from them and go to battlefields and conquer for them, fight in the nation's name, and claim more land for them. At the end of each period, when the war ends, whichever nations come out on top pay you commissions based on how much land they managed to conquer and how well they did relative to their rivals in those wars. So in the nations game, you can hire the factions and manipulate them to do your dirty work, kind of like to do Black Ops or Gray Ops for you. In Free Companies, you manipulate the nations to make a profit by throwing wars for them or winning wars for them. So it's kind of a neat dichotomy in those two games, and I think that they'll make a nice complement to one another. Also being like the sandbox game and the dudes on a map game, having a kind of parallelism is something that I don't think's ever been done before in board gaming. So that would be really cool to see. There was Evil Kadath. Yeah, we had an Evil Kadath April Fool's joke one year. That was pretty silly. So Alexian says he vanquished Rexen. Is this an example of a non-canon elite skin because Alexian dies, or does he actually defeat and kill Rexen? Well, I shouldn't say. I feel like that will spoil the story. But yeah, let's just move on from that one. I probably shouldn't even put that up on the screen. Let's see. So the original Devastation had large counters. They got a bit smaller in Fate. Is the new version of Devastation going to have smaller counters? Yeah, so we're planning to make the counters the same size as Trials. So Trials is the new standard for everything we're printing BattleCon from here on out, and for anything that we reprint in the future. So it's all going to match up with the standard that we set in Trials. And once you get the Unleashed box and Dev Remastered, you should, all of your collections should look just like Trials. Let's see. Thiago wants to know more about Boris, want to play as Boris. Boris is cool. Boris was planned as a playable character, but we didn't actually end up finishing his kit. The idea is that he had, I think it was like 13 or 14 different styles, and they just went out of play every time he used them. So he'd actually have like a deck that he's drawing from and throwing away, and these are just all the things he's throwing at you from across the bar. This is the bartender character from 7-Card Slugfest, Boris. He's kind of like the unluckiest man alive. So anyway, that's Boris. I don't know that we'll get him. Maybe someday. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Well, we're getting close to the end of the chat, so I guess we're kind of I guess we're kind of wrapping up at this point. But yeah, if you guys have any last minute questions for me, you can always post them to the comments. You can always post them in forums or whatnot, and a lot of questions will be answered in the lore book as well. So all that. Anyway, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to join the stream to chat with me here. I'm sorry I'm a little tired, a little out of it today. It's been a long day, and the end of these campaigns always makes me really anxious. So I hope that you guys will will stick around and see me tomorrow for the final countdown, and we will we'll have a good time. It'll be fun. I do have a special secret character to announce tomorrow. There's one more character that we planned. He is, when I say he, that character is the secret bonus boss for Wanderers. And we are going to be revealing them tomorrow on stream. And we're going to be making sure that all the backers of, that are getting unleashed are also getting a copy of this extra character. So there's one more secret bonus fighter that we're giving you guys for free in Unleashed. And we're going to reveal that character tomorrow during the final stream. So look out for that. It's going to be pretty hype. It'll be somebody that you've never heard of before. So don't worry about speculating on it, but it's going to be a pretty cool character. So look out for that. Anyway, I will see all of you guys tomorrow, and thank you so much for joining the lore stream and for chatting with me. So, all right, take it easy and have a good night. Bye.